Let's review Trump's speech that took place, at least as of when I'm recording this, tonight, and is just wrapping up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And, you know, Aaron Rupar, who does a really nice job, I want to give credit to him, as well as Asen, where we get a lot of these clips. Aaron Rupar commented on one of the clips saying, all Trump has is fear and divisiveness. And I have a bunch of clips to play for you from this speech, including Trump saying something very bizarre about the wife of the victim from the rally where there was the assassination attempt and all sorts of crazy things. But first, here's this clip that Aaron Rupar was making that point about.
They're letting horrible people into our country. They're poisoning our country.
And as we go through some of these, I wish that MAGA could understand how simple Trump's playbook is. The reason he uses the poisoning of the blood rhetoric, as you heard there, is because he got that from, we'll just say, other authoritarians in history. It's been used time and time again, rhetoric like that. You always have to, in his position, find an other to fearmonger about, and then terrify the ever-loving you-know-what out of your followers so that they don't think about the fact that you don't have a comprehensive policy proposal. You don't have, at least one that would be popular, I should say. You don't have a compelling vision, an affirmative vision for what's going to come next if you were to be elected. And so instead it has to be fear, fear, fear. He has to terrify the crowd into believing that voting in so many ways against their interests for Trump is in their interest. And that's why we talk about all these different culture war issues and all of the Fox News narratives that are pushed. Because if you go tune into a Kamala Harris rally, she's explaining why we should be afraid of the right wing's agenda. Absolutely, perfectly fine to point to what is scary. But then there's this message of hope for what's ahead and actual policies to back it up, a record and laying out an agenda for what's ahead. And that's something that Trump just cannot do often, as someone who has watched so many of these speeches. Unfortunately, I can say that for sure. He also said this.
I think worse than Biden, and he's gone, he's shot. But if she becomes your president, our country is finished, I'll tell you. In Pennsylvania, your beautiful Commonwealth, it's always good when you remember it's a Commonwealth. He would call it a state often. Remember when Biden I used to love this guy, because you were on pins and needles watching him speak. You know, when's he going to blow it? And it would.
We'll get some glitches of Trump in this speech, so maybe don't be so confident about that. But they're saying if Vice President Kamala Harris becomes president, the country will be finished. Something he's been saying about Biden as well before the switch, which is interesting given that the country was in one of the worst situations it's been in a very long time. When Trump when Trump left office, I should say, Biden had to inherit that crises on all fronts, and then has overseen, with the help of his vice president Kamala Harris, has overseen a stunning recovery. An interesting backwards point there. Then we get into him being very insecure about the fact that people point to his cognitive struggles, and he says, I'm not cognitively impaired, but I do really like to think about Hannibal Lecter.
Is a step above, right? This is, they go crazy when they want to try and say, he's cognitively impaired. You know, I stand up here for 2 hours and I speak without a mistake, but when I say Hannibal Lecter, they say, why does he keep mentioning it? Because Hannibal Lecter was a serious psycho, right? He was Silence of the Lambs. Dr. Hannibal Lecter.
Look at the crowd. They don't even seem to exactly get why he thinks this is so interesting.
He'd like to have you for dinner. See the man with the wall? Stand up. Look at this guy. He's here so much. He's great. He's great. He's a Trump voter. I don't think we have to worry about him, do we? He's a Trump voter all the way. But Hannibal Lecter would like to have you for dinner.
So he has to rely on convincing people that Hannibal Lecters are coming into the United States and they're going to eat you for dinner. And that's why you have to vote for him, even though by every metric, based on the impact policy has on those metrics, whether it be economics or anything else, crime. If you want the better outcome, the data reveals that that is voting for the Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris in this case. And then you have this.
By the way, can anybody imagine her as, in all fairness, we want to be politically correct and all that, great, who cares? Can anybody imagine her dealing with President Xi of China?
President Xi! President Xi!
Who's a fierce individual, fierce person.
There is no one who Trump is more complimentary of than those authoritarians around the world. Then here's this moment that it's a serious subject being discussed. Just a strange side remark, though. He says that the supporter of his, rally attendee, who was tragically killed, the wife of him, said to him, I guess, that the millions of dollars that's been raised in a GoFundMe to support her and her family, that she would rather have her husband than that money. That makes sense. It's heartbreaking. And Trump says this.
But you know what? Corey's wife said, I'd rather have my husband. Isn't that good? I know a lot of wives that would not say that. I'm sorry. They would not say that.
Okay. I'll leave that one there with no comment. I guess the crowd found it entertaining. You also have this little glitchity glitch.
Just Chicago and the whole nation's crime rate. Look, just
the whole gracious great. I mean crime rate.
Chicago and the whole nation's crime rate. Look, just
look. Know that every time he has a glitch, he's gonna follow it up with look, and he's gonna point at somebody. Look, oh, boop. If you're watching this and you're thinking, this guy's not bad, and you want to support the work that we do, you can do so by clicking the subscribe button. Easy, free, but makes a huge difference. Back to the video. Then we get into this unhinged statement where he's making a false claim to justify saying that his political opponent should be locked up.
they're trying to delete everything she said. Hey, did you ever see the Unselect Committee? The Unselect Committee on January 6th, did you see where they went and deleted and destroyed all evidence? Was deleted and destroyed. So I think, Dan, you and all of my friends here, they should be indicted for that. They destroyed evidence. You know why? Because the evidence showed that we were innocent. The evidence showed that Nancy Pelosi should...
And on to those talking points, the evidence did not reveal that, and actually the evidence is available online. You can go analyze the evidence that was uncovered by the January 6th Select Committee. No evidence that they were destroying evidence just by him claiming it over and over again. And no evidence that in the evidence, there was any evidence that made Trump look better, okay? Try to follow that. And he also said this about the January 6th investigation.
And then I went back to the White House and I started throwing hamburgers at the wall. This is the story this person told. So they went to the Secret Service. They found out it was all bullshit.
That, of course, we've also fact-checked in the past. Not true. Then he says this doozy.
I can't believe I'm doing it. You know, the weird thing. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I was talking about Biden. I didn't even know her name. Nobody did. Kamala. Hello. Beautiful. I didn't even know her name. Kamala. I heard...
Creepy vibes there. It's weird that you didn't know the name of one of the most famous and influential people on the planet. That's more about you than it is about Kamala Harris. This one is such a self-own.
She wasn't tough on crime. She's only tough on guys like me because they want to go after their political opponent.
The quote that came of that, as Asen highlighted, was, Kamala Harris wasn't tough on crime, she's only tough on guys like me. Yeah, that's the... Because Yes, that's the issue, that you committed crimes. And I would say she's probably tough on people who commit crimes, at least back when she was a prosecutor. And then we get into one of the things I talked about with Tim Miller of the Bulwark podcast, and we've been talking about on the show, is something about the presence of Kamala Harris in this race is really throwing off Trump for reasons. Okay, we saw some of those reasons coming out during his disastrous appearance at the National Association of Black Journalists Convention, I think it's called. And there, he spiraled out of control and then started talking about how he sort of questioning if Kamala Harris is black or something. And he's just very discombobulated, which is why in this speech he talked multiple times. You saw one of them about, just a few weeks ago, I was getting to talk about Biden, and now I got to talk about somebody else. And it takes him a while to build up the dishonest infrastructure, the social infrastructure of lies around a person. And his rhetoric is not actually about just, here's why I'm a good candidate, contrasted against the other movement, but instead about telling lies about the person and making these really personal attacks, which is why he's sad now that those personal attacks and those lies that he developed about Biden no longer are valuable to him. And a lot of things about Kamala Harris throw him off. And that means that he's actually alienating people, is what we're learning, by not being able to help himself with racially charged and sex-related charged, for lack of a better phrase, attacks.
In her speech in Atlanta last night, Kamala Harris even tried to outbrand a new Southern accent. Did you hear a new accent? If I ever did that, all of those people back there, look at them, look at all those cameras.
And seeing people attacking her for the way that she was speaking, which was a huge thing in MAGA media at the rally last night, pretty wild stuff that they would attack that. And then you have Alina Habba saying this.
I am a strong woman, a mom, a lawyer, and an American. And unlike you, Kamala, I know who my roots are. I know where I come from. And I don't play around with the Constitution.
What? The guy you're supporting called for the termination of the Constitution, so you can just not speak on that one. But saying that Kamala Harris doesn't know where her roots are, and is that coming from this?
She was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So,
and I actually saw that a guy by the name of Charlie Kirk quoted a conversation. Actually, I'll show you this clip. Here's the clip.
Okay, so what we're going to cook today is an Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because you are Indian.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that, but I find that wherever I go and I see Indian people.
Then he quoted this, or responded to it, saying this was 2019. As if it's a bombshell. This is 2019. Trump was right. Oh my gosh, we got her. She's a fraud. No. Both can be the case. Yes, she has, I think it's Indian mother and black father. So then you can identify with both. So weird that this is an obsession of theirs. This is not a good political message. Just saying. So I guess if you're going to do it, just get ready because you're going to lose. If this is your response to our very disciplined and policy-oriented and important issues-oriented and unifying message. Let me know what you thought of all that in the comments.